Hey everybody, welcome back to my channel. It's CruachanKeith here, and today we're looking at the top 10 Xbox 360 games. Let's take a look. Okay, so it's a big one today, the Xbox 360. Everyone has it. Before I go any further, I pronounce my TH like a normal T, so I say 360 like a tree that grows in the field. Everyone keeps laughing at the way I pronounce my T's, but a lot of Irish people don't say TH, we just say T. Okay, that's out of the way. So the Xbox 360 was released in November 2005, so it's been with us for a very long time. And so far, there's almost 2,000 games released for it. So, yeah, it's a lot to choose from in kind of making up a top 10, but I had to go. Obviously, you're not going to agree with all of these, and you know, that's the whole point. We check out top 10s to see what other people think were their top 10s and how different they are to us. So without further ado, let's take a look. So starting things off at number 10, we have Enslaved, Odyssey to the West. Enslaved is probably a game a lot of people skipped when it was released, as it came out at a time when huge big budget games were released. I urge you to check it out if you haven't. It's an absolutely beautiful game with stunning, colourful environments, which is kind of strange to say, as it's also a post-apocalyptic game. You play as a character called Monkey. He's voiced by Andy Serkis, and you're bound to a character called Trip. She has a control over Monkey with a device in his head. If her heart stops, he dies, so an unlikely alliance forms. I played this around the time I'd finished Last of Us on the PlayStation 3, and it's a similar type of buddy dynamic in both games. Gameplay is a mix of exploration, platforming and combat, and all are executed really well and really fun to play. Enslaved Odyssey to the West has a strong script, fantastic level design and a unique look, a true classic of its time.
Be careful!
Keep your voice down. Get out! When I give you the signal, you get back, okay?
No, I can't.
Do as I say.
At number 9, we have Prey 2006. This was actually the first game I played on the Xbox 360, and I still remember my jaw dropping to the floor. Up to this point I was mainly a PC gamer, but also had an original Xbox and played a few games on that. The graphical leap between the two consoles was unbelievable. Graphics aside though, Prey was a fantastic game. It suffered from a lot of development hell and was in some ways in development since 1995, with many style and story changes along the way. The version we got in 2006 told the story of a Cherokee Indian transported into an alien starship where he has to fight off aliens and try to figure out what's going on. There are Dreamtime sequences where his grandfather visits him and bestows spiritual powers upon him. There's a lot of actual Cherokee mythology in the story, which I found fascinating. A big feature of the game was portals. This was before the actual game Portal and was a pretty unique and cool experience in 2006. Prey, released 5 months before the PlayStation 3 went on sale, showed what the Xbox 360 and this whole console generation was capable of.
Oh, my head!
At number 8, we have Mafia II. For some reason, I've never really gotten into the Grand Theft Auto games. I played GTA 3 on PC, and to some extent I've played GTA 5, and that's about it. Actually, I'm still playing GTA 5 at the moment. It's not that I don't like open world games, quite the opposite in fact. Maybe it's the hype that surrounds the GTA games that turns me off. I don't know. Anyway, Mafia 2 is an open world game, very much in the style of GTA 4 and 5, but with a completely different setting, and you know, I absolutely loved it. It features a deep, mobster-driven narrative packed with both behind the wheel and on-foot third-person action. Like the original Mafia on PC, Mafia II immerses players in the mob underworld of a fictitious late 1940s, early 1950s scenario. Players easily become engaged in the game's cinematic Hollywood movie experience with strong, believable characters in a living and breathing city. One memorable moment in the game comes mid-game when Vito, the guy you play, goes to prison. You leave a 1940s era city and return to the same city some years later. All the cars and music changes to suit the 1950s era that you're now in. It was absolutely awesome. A lot changes when you're in prison. Mafia 2, my number 8.
Hey, you, get out.
Oh, God.
Don't shoot.
Help!
At number 7, we've got Batman Arkham Asylum. When this was released, reviewers were calling it the best superhero game ever made. It's an arcade adventure heavily reliant on hand-to-hand combat, but with the dark, eerie atmosphere of Bioshock, using all the Batman lore at hand. The plot is pretty typical Batman fare, and the Joker, voiced by the legend Mark Hamill, is as psychotic as ever. True fans were also delighted to know that Batman was voiced by the cartoon series legend Kevin Conroy. Personally, I found his voice acting very forced here, but no doubt I'll be shot down from fans for saying that. The gameplay is really fun. Lots of detective work needed to solve puzzles and uncover clues. It's an absolute joy to swing from ground level to rooftops with the Batclaw, and leaping from heights to take out a lone henchman never gets old. A fantastic story and well executed game makes this my number 7 Xbox 360 game of all time.
Joker.
He's here!
Some of this.
At number 6 we have Dead Space. Dead Space is a science fiction horror that contains all the tension of Resident Evil set in a claustrophobic outer space setting. It always reminds me of the movie Event Horizon. Its necromorphs are terrifying to behold, and a welcome break from the countless zombies you encounter in survival horrors. What really makes Dead Space stand out though are the moments of sheer loneliness and isolation you get from wandering around the mining ship, slowly putting the story together of what happened, interspersed with moments of absolute terror and gruesome violence. Killing the necromorphs with strategic dismemberment, as they call it, where you cut off limbs, is great fun and also stomach churning. I remember playing this late at night in the dark. It was terrifying. Dead Space, number 6. Alright, at number 5 we have Condemned and Condemned 2. I decided to include both the Condemned games at the number 5 spot. These games are true horror classics. The tension and uneasiness created in these games is something to behold. There's buckets of atmosphere throughout the game. At its core, it starts off as a detective style game. You're tracking a serial killer, but things take an uneasy turn as the story progresses and develops. Combat is mostly melee, using whatever you can find lying around, and the enemies are literally psychopathic lunatics. The way they run at you in a feral rage is terrifying. This ended on a cliffhanger with part 2, and for almost 10 years fans have been calling out for part 3. Coming in at number 4, we've got Halo 3. Pretty sure this is the only Xbox 360 exclusive in the top 10. Anyway, I was very late to the Halo party. I wasn't really interested when the first game came out. I hated the cutesy noises the grunts made, and I guess PCs were doing better first-person shooters. Well, that all changed in 2018 when I finally played through Halo 1 and 2 on original Xbox, and then Part 3 on Xbox 360. And I'm so glad I did. The cutesy grunt noises really died down on the later games and helped me enjoy them, I guess. Halo 3 was an amazing end to the story that started in Halo 1. The production values were through the roof, graphics were amazing. Essentially, it's the same gameplay as the previous two games, but when something is so good, why change it? The game had a huge release. I remember this was advertised everywhere. Microsoft spent $40 million on marketing alone for this game, the goal of which was to sell more Xbox 360s as well. The game was a critical success. A lot of people call it the best in the series.
Give him some room!
At number 3, we've got Call of Duty World at War. So, a Call of Duty game in the top 10 Xbox 360 games of all time? What? Well, there's no denying that, although they have become synonymous with all things generic, all the Call of Duty games are made to a really high standard with huge production values, but still remain pretty generic, except for World at War. For me, this game was a return to the series' glory days of World War II first-person action. As mentioned, the production values here are through the roof. The graphics and voice acting are fantastic, the single-player storyline is gripping, and although back in a World War II setting, they still managed to take the franchise to new areas and keep it fresh. Of all the Call of Duty games I have in my collection, which is all of them I guess, including PS4 and Xbox One, this is the one I often return to. They totally hit the nail on the head with this game, and that's why it's my number 3. And at number 2, Skyrim. So, Skyrim, what a game. Before its release in 2011, The Elder Scrolls Skyrim became one of the most hyped games of all time. I actually couldn't decide whether to put Oblivion or Skyrim here, as I absolutely loved Oblivion, and it's still one of my favourite games of all time, but I played Oblivion on PC, so Skyrim wins out. Skyrim, it's one of the most memorable fantasy RPG worlds ever created, filled with stunning scenery from rushing rivers, lush pine forests to vast mountain ranges and rolling meadows. It's the very definition of open world gaming. You can follow the main quest and fight dragons, or you can do your own thing, join a guild, or just wander around, increasing your skills and enjoying the journey, and most importantly, picking flowers. A fantastic, genre-defining work of art.
Sentry, what do you see?
And now at number 1, my top Xbox 360 game of all time is Bioshock. What can I say about Bioshock? Oh, just a joy from start to finish. It's a spiritual successor to the amazing System Shock series of games. Bioshock, it's just an incredible game in so many ways. On the surface, no pun intended, it appears to be a standard first-person shooter. But once you start playing, you realise there's a lot more going on here. The graphics, sound and voice acting are all superb. The story and concept, based on dystopian themes, is enthralling as you wander around this underwater city that has taken a pretty huge turn for the worse. The city is called Rapture, and it really is the star of the game. It's a joy to walk around its underwater buildings and look out into the ocean and all the life it contains. So many times I stood there watching fish go by, or even a blue whale move up one of Rapture's streets. As I said, there's a lot more going on than a standard first-person shooter, and there's lots of RPG elements throughout the game. There's also the moral dilemma presented to you when you encounter the Little Sisters, small orphan girls that can help you in different ways depending on whether you free them or harvest them. And then there are the Big Daddy encounters, huge lumbering hulks that protect the Little Sisters. This for me was the perfect Xbox 360 gaming experience. Part 2 was also a great game, but I felt the series suffered in Part 3, Bioshock Infinite, and took itself way too seriously with a ridiculous 15-minute end scene that pretty much made no sense.
Aye, that's a pretty sermon coming from the ghoul who cooked up them creatures in the first place. Took fine little girls and turned them into that, didn't you? Listen to me, Bio. You won't survive without the aid of those things are carrying. Are you prepared to trade your life, the lives of my wife and child, for 10 and bounce little Frankensteins?
Here! There is another. Use this. Free them from their torment.
So there you go, that's my top 10 Xbox 360 games of all time. What do you guys think? Let me know in the comments and keep it civil, okay? I know some of you will be like, well, where's this game? And like some of the comments left on previous videos tell me I know nothing about games because my top 10 doesn't compare with their top 10, which is pretty ridiculous. Anyway, hope you enjoyed the video. Stay around and we're going to take a look at some honourable mentions right now. So that's it. Hope you enjoyed the video. Please leave a like and please subscribe if you haven't, and I'll see you on the next one. If you like that video and if you like what I do on the channel, please leave a like and please subscribe because it helps very much. Thank you.